Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name's Andy Botsford, and I will be co-presenting this morning with a colleague of mine, Paul McDermott-Roe.
Good morning.
The seminar should last around about 30 minutes. If we get questions at the end, we're quite happy to stay on the line. So we're going to dive straight into a quick overview of the agenda. I'm going to quickly give you a very quick overview of Primelight for any of you who don't know us. Then I'm going to pass over to my colleague Paul, who's going to run through the details on Flickr, i.e. what is Flickr, the effects of Flickr, how do we measure it, and some solutions we have for Flickr. After that, we're going to do a very quick overview of some new products that include some of these Flickr solutions. So we'll move on to a little bit about Primelight, if that's okay. So Primelight, we're primarily a component solutions provider to the lighting industry. We were established in 1992, and we now have a market-leading position in the supply of components to the industry. As a component supplier, Primelight has a vast product range covering basically every component you need to build a luminaire. This includes everything from drivers, LED boards, wiring, connectors, right through to the lighting control, optics, and even emergency components. We have exclusive distribution agreements with a number of global manufacturers. This gives us pretty much an unrivaled product range in the industry, and it means all our parts are sourced from trusted and audited sources. We have UK warehousing based in London, and at any one time we have over 2 million components in stock. As well as commercial support, we also give design support with people visiting customers. We also work very closely with our customers to support any sort of vendor consolidation. And basically, we support UK lighting OEMs, contractors, and wholesalers, as well as some other industries, including catering and facilities management. I'm going to talk a little bit about our relationship with TCI, which this presentation is focused around. TCI and Primelight have worked together now for over 15 years. And in fact, TCI were one of our first partners in supporting our supply to the lighting industry. TCI have one of the largest ranges of products available in the market and offer through from electronic ballasts, primarily LED drivers, and light sources with both standard LED boards and custom capabilities. Here in the UK, we hold large stocks of the most popular TCI items, which are available to our customers on next day delivery. So I'll pass over now to my colleague Paul, who will run through the main part of the presentation with regards to Flickr.
Thanks, Andy. Good morning, everyone. I know time is important to everyone, so I think I'll dive straight in and talk to you about Flickr. So what is Flickr? I describe it as a rapid change in light intensity which appears to flutter and be unsteady. Obviously, there's many other interpretations, but that's mine. I believe that there's two primary types of Flickr. One is visible. This is as observed by humans. And we also have invisible, which is only possible by viewing through electronic devices such as mobile phones, video cameras, etc. Okay, so what are the effects of Flickr? So there's different types. There's obviously the health related, so you've got your neurological problems as on the slide there, including epileptic seizure. But there's also migraines, headaches, affecting of the eyes, so like blurred vision, eye strain, etc. And then you've got emotional well-being as well. But of course, you've got non-health related, including apparent slowing or stopping of motion, so like a strobe effect. And this can be a big issue, especially in things like machine shop environments and assembly areas, you know, because this can cause things like safety issues, especially around the machinery and the handling of moving parts, etc. So hugely important. But also there's the distraction as well, which can again lead to reduced productivity and more safety issues. And also flicker can produce an unstable light output in video applications as well. So, you know, there's obviously many more, but these are just some of those effects which can obviously be related to ourselves in both health and non-health related situations. So the most common occurrence of flicker is when a luminaire is dimmed, especially in sort of LED applications. You know, the choice of an LED driver, sort of LED module, COB technology can hugely impact, you know, the flicker performance, and therefore choosing these components carefully is really, really important. But there can also be external factors as well. An example could be a system which inside has many electronic devices. All of these can generate several frequencies within the system, but again, you could have influences from a poor quality dimmer or power supply, etc. So again, many reasons why a flicker could occur. So the science bit, so stay with us. It's not as complicated as it sounds, but we'll move on to that now. So how do we measure flicker? So one way is by flicker percentage. Now this is the measure of the maximum light versus the minimum light in a cycle. So this is only accounts for, you know, the minimum and maximum light outputs and does not differentiate between the waveforms. So it's really the simplest way of measuring flicker. So the formula on the slide shows how this can be calculated. And the lower the percentage of flicker, then the less substantial the flicker, as can be seen on the graphs again there on the slide. So again, I won't go into too much detail, but we do have the information for you if you do require more information on that. There's also flicker frequency, which has to be considered. So this is the rate at which the light output fluctuates in time and related to the speed. So there are typically three types of frequency, as again can be seen on the slide. I'm sure you've heard of all of those yourselves. Another measure is flicker index. So this requires more calculations than flicker percentage measurement. So as there is consideration given to the shape of the waveform. So flicker index considers the area of the waveform above and below the average light output, and therefore it's considered by many as the better of the two measurements. Again, as you can see there, the formula is shown. Again, the lower the flicker index, the less substantial the flicker. So as already mentioned, one way to avoid flicker is by selecting the correct and compatible solutions as shown on the slide with all compatible solutions from TCI. These are just a few of the examples because there are many, many options from TCI, obviously including the dimmer, a huge range of drivers and also LED modules and other components as well. So now we come on to dimming methods. So there are three main methods of dimming. You've got PWM, which is your pulse width modulation dimming, and this works by turning the LEDs on and off at a very high speed. Although it actually ends up, you know, making the light flicker, it's so fast that the human eye doesn't notice. So PWM works by using the exact amount of electrical current the LED requires. The process quickly switches between the current amount and zero. So either the LED is running on its necessary amount of power or it's off. So some of the benefits of PWM dimming: it allows the LED to be on for less time, so therefore lowering its internal temperature and potentially adds to the lifespan. And also one of the real key things on PWM is that there's no color shift. So it's important in those high-end applications. But some of the drawbacks to PWM are that it can be perceived in peripheral vision if the driver is run below 100 hertz. So it's quite important that that you're choosing it in the right applications. And sometimes PWM drivers can generate electromagnetic interference as well, which makes them unsuitable for certain applications such as medical, for instance. Then you have AM, which is amplitude modulation, and this is the relatively simple method of controlling the amount of current supplied to the LEDs. So full LED brightness occurs when the maximum amount of current is provided to the LEDs, and dimming occurs when the current is reduced. So the benefits of this type of dimming are it offers a really smooth dimming without flicker and is invisible when recording with a camera, and it works really, really well with dim to warm LEDs. But one of the drawbacks is that you can have a bit of color shift at dimming at the lower levels. So the latest technology to overcome flicker issues is through a hybrid solution. So this takes the best elements from both the PWM and the AM solutions. So this dims AM between 100% and 25%, and with PWM between 25% and 1%. So therefore, this results in a really good, efficient driver with no bending effect, providing smooth dimming with consistent color temperature performance. So really, as I said, taking the best of both the PWM and the AM. And TCI have added some of these methods to some of the existing well-known drivers. So for instance, the Jolly range and the Professional ranges, which many of you are aware of, which may have only been available in PWM before, some of them are now also offering the option of AM and the AM PWM hybrid options. So I'll now pass you on to Andy, who will cover some further information for you.
Thanks, Paul. As I explained earlier in the agenda, we're going to give you a brief overview of some of the new products from TCI. I'll go through this relatively quickly, highlighting the main features of each part, including some of the dimming options that Paul's just mentioned, so you can tie it into what we've already discussed. So I think there's going to be 6 different products that I'm going to give you a very quick overview of. The first one is a new product called the MSE range. The MSE range is a new product that was designed specifically for spotlights. It's a relatively low-cost driver. The output current is adjusted by a jumper rather than a dip switch. As I said, it's designed for spotlights, and it's a very small package that fits in a standard 90mm tube. It's got the latest DALI 2 technology, is available 1 to 10 volt, and uses AM dimming, which we discussed earlier in Paul's presentation. Okay. Then we move on to another compact product called the Professional Square. This is a development of an existing product from TCI, but in a new format. The main advantages here are A, the very small package size, 2, again, it's DALI 2 and AM dimming, but the main advantage here is the output is programmable by NFC, which is near field communications. So basically it's a wireless programming of the driver. Again, a new product that's developed from an existing product. Some of you may be aware of TCI's Jolly range, which is their Mini Jolly, Jolly and Maxi Jolly. Very high running products. Basically, they cover nearly all applications. But the new Maxi Jolly is a high current version. It's available up to 60 watts. The main advantage is it will run up to 2.1 amps. This is really important in larger light fittings where you're looking to drive a number of boards with a single driver. For example, if you're running at 700 milliamps, you can actually run 3 boards in parallel with this driver. It benefits from DALI 2 again. It has the AM dimming. And what's important, it's also a universal voltage, so you can run it from 110 volt, or you can use European 220 volt to 240 volts. It does a lot of jobs, that product. Again, a new product from TCI is their Puma MD, a relatively low power driver, but it's used for phase cut dimming. The real advantage here is it's all electronically controlled, and that means that the compatibility with different dimmers is much better than conventional phase cut drivers. This is particularly important in retrofit type applications where you need to fit a new driver and you've got a dimmer in place already. The chances are this driver will be compatible with the dimmer because of the electronic control. Move to the next one. Okay. The RLED range is a high power slim case driver, again incorporating DALI 2, AM dimming, which we discussed before. The current is adjustable either by TCI's LED set system, which is programmable with a programmer, or you can adjust the current through DALI 2 programming. Product is available in that small size up to 150 watts. Okay, and finally, I'm going to introduce you to yet another new product, which is TCI's Super Slim product. The real advantage of this product is how narrow it is, coming in at just under 20 millimeters. Is ideally suited for putting into luminaires made from an extrusion. So an aluminium extrusion, which is typically quite narrow for linear lights. This product will actually fit into that. It benefits again from DALI 2, AM dimming, and has an IP rating of 54. Current is adjustable by a dip switch. So that pretty much finishes a snapshot of some of the new products from TCI. There's many, many more, but we've just picked out a few that we hope might be of interest. It brings us to the end of the presentation as such, and we'd like to thank everyone for listening and hope it was beneficial. We'll open up to questions now. We'll answer as many questions as we can, but if there's any we can't answer at the time or we don't have time, we will come back to everyone. So great, if there's any questions, please let us know.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Lisa. I'm marketing manager for Primelight. I've been monitoring the questions, so we have had a few come in. We've had the first one has come in from Adam. How easy is it to find hybrid LED driver options on the TCI website?
Yeah, okay, I can answer that one.
That's great.
Yeah, so for those familiar with the TCI website, there is a selector tool. So within the selector tool, you've got certain criteria. So you'd normally go through your drive current, your dimming type, which would be like DALI, your mains, your 1 to 10, etc. But there's an additional features section within there as well. And within that, you can select your dimming method. So either your AM or AM plus PWM, etc. So it's very easy to find.
Thanks, Paul. We've had one come in from Tim. You mentioned NFC programming. What is required for this?
Okay, I'll answer that one. The NFC program we mentioned with the Professional Square product, as we said, was a wireless programming of the driver. Basically, for that, you need a programmer. That's available from Primelight via TCI. It's available in 2 packages. One is a little bit like a handheld scanner that you hold near the driver to program it, or there is a flat top one which you pass the driver over the top of. I guess you could say it's a little bit like the checkouts in Tesco's where you pass a product over the scanner. So you need the hardware. The software which is downloadable onto a computer, is available for free download from the TCI website. Going forward, they're also developing some new products. That means that the programmer will be able to program more than one driver at a time. It's going to take the form of a hoop that you'd be able to put over a whole box of drivers and program a whole box of drivers at a time. So obviously saving a lot of time in production. I hope that answers the question for you.
Thanks, Andy. We've just had one come in from Christoph. Do you have phase cut compatible products? And if yes, do they comply with the IEC standard?
We do have the phase cut products. I mentioned the Puma MD. I'm sure I'd have to look at the data sheet. I'm sure it will meet the latest regulations, but we can certainly send you the information on that, no problem.
Thanks. We've just had one coming from Ben. Is there a generic NFC tool that can be used, or does this need to come from TCI?
No, TCI, it is a, NFC is a generic platform. They can be bought directly from the manufacturer. I'll have to check the manufacturer's name. It is sold by TCI to support their drivers, but it is manufactured and is a common platform, yes. It's not TCI exclusive.
Okay. We've just had one coming from Les Thomas. Do the hybrid dimming drivers comply with either of the requirements for managing flicker as defined in the WELL standard version? Feature LO7 Part 2 or A or B? That might be something.
I think we'd have to come back and just confirm that. Okay, so if you can make a note of that, Lisa, we'll come back.
Thanks for that one. We'll come back to you on that one. We've just had another one come in from Malcolm. Do the in-track drivers offer AM or the hybrid option?
Well, okay, the in-track drivers. Yeah, so some of them do. There is, off the top of my head, the GAC 616 offers the hybrid option. And there are some Milano, which is a new range of in-track drivers, Darley drivers from TCI, which offers the AM dimming. But there are many other options as well, and there's more in the pipeline, because the actual in-track range is something which they are looking to grow.
Great. This is the final one, I believe, from Dave. How many new AM and hybrid options are there?
Oh, well, I know on the AM there's approximately, well, there's between 180 and 190 options now, I think, at the last count. Hybrid, there's not quite as many at the moment. There's between 60 and 70, I would say, but there are many more additions in the pipeline, so more to come, so watch this space.
Brilliant, thanks, Paul. And Joshua, just to answer your question, yes, of course you can have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll be circulating the recording as well, which will be sent out to everybody who's been online. So that's the end of the questions. I think that is everything from us. If you'd like to contact us, you can use any of these numbers. We're also on social media, so please feel free to contact us via that as well, and the website. Thanks for joining, and we will send out the recording soon.